Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee. On this week's deck talk, we're going to be talking about a deck that I really think is the ultimate counter to the current format that we're in. It is no secret that right now the format is basically a build-a-board format where either you play a deck that just puts up the craziest board possible or you build a deck that's just designed to break that board. With decks like Bird Up, Sword Soul, Phantom Knights, and even Drytron, everybody's trying to accomplish basically the same thing: lock your opponent out of playing the game in some shape or form, whether it's Scythe or a multitude of interruptions to where breaking a board can be very hard. Now, to counter these strategies, a lot of players have fallen back on cards like Droplets and Dark Ruler No More, just because they know if you lose the die roll and you're going second against the deck, most of them can play through hand traps anyway. So having cards like this to break boards really makes it that much more easier for you to clear the cards out of your way and, well, build your own board. Now, that is what brings us to this deck this week. TRAP ELDLICH has always had an amazing matchup against all these build-a-board decks for many formats now. So not only are we going to be abusing all these powerful trap cards, but we have two new additions from BODE to add to this already amazing deck that not only will help you counter the meta, but give the deck an even better grind game and more pushes for OTKs. We're going to do the card by card, show you exactly what I'm playing, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll be able to see all the powerful additions that BODE has brought to this already powerful deck that'll help you counter so many decks in this format. But first, as always, guys, please go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. Thanks, guys. Alright, so starting off with the monsters, it wouldn't be an Eldritch deck without Eldritch, the Golden Lord. This is the heart and soul of the deck, your reoccurring beater, you're out to DPE, Link fodder, XYZ material. This card does it all in this deck. Anybody who's played any variant of Eldritch knows this card and this engine is amazing. Now, 2 has been pretty standard for some time now, but I would definitely understand if you wanted to run 3. This card is one of the best ways your deck can out DPE, so increasing the likelihood of seeing this card actually could be pretty good. Having the 3rd copy in the deck will definitely catch your opponent off guard. So again, that's totally up to you, but for me, in testing, 2 has been just the sweet spot, as most Eldritch decks do. Now, this is not the only Lord that we're playing in the deck. We are also playing 3 copies of Lord of Heavenly Prison. This is a new card out of Burst of Destiny, and it fits into this deck so beautifully. Heavenly Prison has a long effect, so I'll do my best to summarize it. But basically, what this card does is, during your main phase, while this card's in your hand, you can activate the effect to reveal it from your hand to your opponent until the end of your opponent's next turn. Now, the really cool thing is, as long as this card's revealed in your hand, your set, spells, and traps cannot be destroyed. This is really amazing, especially since most people are going to be trying to pick away at your back row, and some people are even playing Lightning Storm in the main deck, and obviously a lot of people are siding it as well. So having a card that hard counters those is really amazing. Now, as cool as the protection is, that's not the main reason we're playing this card. The best effect of this card is, while it's revealed, if you were to activate a set card, you can special summon him from the hand. Then, after you do, you can search any spell or trap from your deck, reveal it, and then set it on your side of the field. And yes, you didn't hear me wrong, any spell or any trap. Now, this effect is once per turn, and during the end phase of the next turn, the card you just set will get banished. But that's not a problem because we know whatever we're searching it for a reason. So don't worry about it getting banished. You know you're gonna activate it anyway. This card fits in the deck so perfectly. It protects your back rows, it searches any spell or trap in your deck, and in addition, it's a free 3k beater body that you can throw on the board to either push for game, set up link plays, or even exceed summon into rank 10s. Yes, it's the same level as Golden Lord. Now, that's it for the Lords, but we do play 2 more monsters, and we are playing 1 Destiny Hero Dasher and 1 Destiny Hero Celestial. That's right, we are also playing DPE. It should be no surprise when I say DPE is an amazing card, being a great interruption, amazing spot removal, and adding another layer of grind to this already grindy deck makes for the perfect match in this deck. Now, there are a couple things you need to keep in mind with this engine. Scarlet Sanguine will lock you into zombies, so you have to time when you're activating that card, but there are so many ways to get into DPE in this deck. Your deck always has random bodies on the field, whether it's your Eldritch Traps or your Eldritch the Golden Lord, but you also have Heavenly Prison, which is a free body that can go on the field to make Anaconda, or you can use its effect to directly search Destiny Fusion from your deck just to activate it on your turn. It's so crazy. People will put this engine in their deck just because they can get access to Anaconda. So not only can your deck do that, but it also just searches the fusion card without doing that. This is just one additional reason why Heavenly Prison is an amazing card in this deck. But all in all, I don't need to explain why DPE is so amazing. Now, it's not a lot, but that was it for the monsters. On to the spells. We are playing 3 copies of Cursed Eldlin. Now, Cursed Eldlin obviously is an amazing card, being able to get your whole Eldritch engine online. But recently, we've seen this card come in and out of the deck for a multitude of reasons. Even right now, I find myself feeling like this card can clog my field from time to time, but the fact that this is just a 1-card engine starter and can search the Golden Lord to help out any problem cards on the field is actually really relevant right now. Plus, comboing it with DPE is really amazing first turn, being able to search your trap card and then pop the spell with DPE on your turn, dumping whatever trap you want into the grave. That way you can start getting the other half of the engine online. This is almost identical to what Zodiac Eldritch would do with Dryden. If I wasn't playing DPE, I don't know if I would play this card or not, but right now I think this card is really amazing. Now, after the Cursed Eldlin, we are on the 3 copies of Fusion Destiny. I already mentioned we're on DPE, and like I mentioned before, it's really easy to see this card with Heavenly Prison, but again, making Anaconda in the mid game is really easy as well. After the Destiny Fusion, we are on 3 Pot of Extravagance. This pot card is really amazing in this deck. A free Pot of Greed that really costs you no resources is super amazing. Not only that, but during your opponent's turn, if you have your Heavenly Prison revealed, once you activate one of your set cards, you can special the prison and then search the Extravagance, setting it face down. That way at the start of your next turn, you get a free Pot of Greed. I'm telling you, this Heavenly Prison card is so amazing. There's so many spell cards in the game this card can abuse, and I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on that potential. Now, the one downside to playing this card is you are forced into playing multiples of various extra deck cards in your extra deck, primarily DPE and Anaconda, so it is going to increase the price tag of your extra deck to play this. But trust me, you're going to want multiple DPEs in your extra deck, because the last thing you're going to want is to banish your 1 copy that you have access to. Now, after this, I actually am playing 1 more spell, and it is 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are you playing this? You're not a build-a-board deck. You're not trying to crack boards. What the heck's going on? Now, yes, you are correct. We are not trying to break boards in that manner, but the main reason we're playing Droplet is for 2 reasons. First and foremost, this essentially is a spell version of Solemn Strike. Right now, Omni Negates are running around everywhere in people's decks, so being able to have a card that says you cannot respond to it makes it that much easier for all your traps to resolve, helping you break boards and just get way ahead in advantage. Another amazing thing is this is a card that you can search again off of Heavenly Prison. Having Forbidden Droplet set will guarantee any traps you want to activate on your turn to push are going to go through. It is so crazy to have access to this card, and the fact that we get to search it, it just blows my mind. Now, that's it for the spells. It's actually a heavier lineup than most Eldritch decks would play, but I think just the fact that Heavenly Prison can search them all makes it that much more important to play them. Now, we're going to go into the bulk of the deck. We're going to go through the trap cards. First things first, the Eldritch traps. We're, of course, playing a 3 copy of Scarlet Sanguine, 3 copies of Conquistador, and 2 copies of Haquero. Now, again, this lineup is super standard in so many variants of Eldritch, so I really don't need to explain the ratios, but this really is the heart and soul of your deck. It's your removal, it's your grind game, it gets your Golden Lord, and it all constantly loops itself, setting more and more traps every turn, slowly generating more and more advantage, all while being able to outgrind some of the best decks of the format. And once again, once you pair it with something like DPE, your deck can be very frustrating to play against. Now, I had a 39 card deck and I had one card I wanted to add. And in the end, I actually added one more golden land and I am playing one golden land forever. Now, this trap does not banish itself to search other traps, but having a searchable Infernity Barrier for your deck is really crazy. In case you guys don't know what it does, basically, if ever you have Golden Lord on the field, you can tribute a zombie to negate the activation of a spell, trap, or monster effect. So I already talked about how Dropless just helps you get your cards to go through, so having an in-engine counter trap to pretty much do the same thing is really amazing. After the Eldritch engine, we are on a couple of good stuff traps, first being 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. There's no reason to really explain this card, it is so amazing. Being able to wipe your opponent's board out pretty much at any time is such a great effect. Again, pairing this with something like Golden Land, Solemn Strike, or even Forbidden Droplet just guarantees no matter how big or how amazing of a board they build, Torrential Tribute is going to resolve. After that, we are on 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. Sometimes I get a little tripped up between IDP and DPE. All these acronyms is real confusing. But Ice Dragon's Prison is such an amazing card. The only deck this card isn't good against is Drytron, and that deck isn't as represented as it used to be. So it's just an easy side out if ever you do run into it. But also, worst case scenario, if you do run into a deck that this isn't good against, you could always use it as a pseudo Call of the Haunted, giving you free monsters to link climb with, or even just make Anaconda to give you access to your DPE, makes for an amazing trap card. But after the Ice Dragon's Prison, we are also on 3 copies of Trap Trick. This card essentially is any trap card in your deck, outside of obviously the counter traps. I think the reason I love this card so much is not only does it give you 3 more copies of any of the broken traps in your deck, but worst case scenario, it's an in-engine card, searching something like Sanguine or maybe a Hakero. Just being able to get your Eldritch engine online or even get free bodies on the field for Anaconda, this card is really amazing. After the trap tricks, we are of course on 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Again, I've already mentioned Golden Land's amazing, Forbidden Droplet's amazing, and it's all for the same reason. Solemn Strike is an amazing card right now. Backing up any of your traps alongside this card just guarantees no matter what you're trying to do, your opponent's monsters will not stop you. I know I can talk about Solemn Strike for forever, but just know this is probably one of the best trap cards in the game right now, and probably ever. This card's amazing. Now, after the Solemn Strike, we have one more old man. Of course, we're playing the 1 Imperial Order. It is to no one's surprise that this card is so amazing right now. Not only that, but your deck can turn this card off at any time. Sending it with Golden Lord, or worst case, even popping it with DPE. You know, if ever you need to activate any of your spell cards, there is no way Imperial Order will hurt you. Now, the extra deck isn't too crazy, but before we hop over to it, in case you guys don't know, I've been doing a progression series on my channel with a really good friend of mine, Ricardo. We've been having so much fun making the episodes, and if you haven't had a chance to see him, I suggest go check him out. I'll leave a link somewhere up above or even down below. Our series is played out a little bit differently than SEMO Engages, but you're definitely gonna have to tune in to see exactly why it's so different. And if you haven't already, go check out any of the other deck talks I've already done about this. Since Burst of Destiny's come out, I have so many more deck profiles I'm going to be bringing you in the future. So if you're trying to get caught up on the meta or maybe get ready for a locals, go back to the channel and go check out any of the other deck profiles I've put up for you. So hopping into the extra deck, there's really nothing that's set in stone, but there's definitely a few cards I would suggest you should run multiples of. The primary monsters being something like Gustav Max, Juggernaut, Pallades. Even Zeus would be a good option to run multiples of. These cards come up fairly often in the deck, so having multiple copies in the extra deck, that way you don't accidentally banish them with pot, can definitely come up from time to time. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, you have to run multiple DPE. It's not the heart and soul of your deck, but it's definitely an important factor to how your deck plays out. And if you really wanted to, you could even run multiple Anacondas just in case. But again, these ratios are all up to you. You could probably get away with running 1 of some of these, but for sure, most of these should be at least at 2. That also goes for cards like Link Spider. You should probably be playing multiples of this, or maybe the Imduk card is another card you could play. But outside of these, you could really take the extra deck out in any way you want. You could run more rank 10s like Sky Palace, or maybe even a Link package with Phoenix, Unicore, or even BLS. These are all pretty easy to make for the most part. Again, your deck isn't a wombo combo deck, so it's not like you're throwing these out every turn all the time, but having the options are very important. Especially this BLS. Some decks just auto lose to it, like Sky Striker. If you didn't want to go that route, you could just tech it out for Maximus in case you're worried about the Dogmatica matchup. Playing stuff like Nova and even Makaba make for some really amazing choices. Heck, you could even play Natis if you really were that afraid. In addition, I really like citing Waking the Dragon in this deck. A lot of people like playing mass wipes like Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster, so being able to bring out monsters like the Last Warrior and Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon is really hilarious. But again, it's all up to you. There is so much space in the extra deck. The one thing I will say is just make sure you're running multiples of some of the key cards to the extra deck. Now, typically I do a combo video at the end of the decks, but this deck really just doesn't combo at all, but I figured I'd show you some of the cool interactions that this deck can do, just to help paint a picture of what I tried to explain in the deck profile. So in this case, we have the Fusion Destiny and the Cursed Eldland. Starting things off, we will pay 8 to feel great, searching us something like a Conquistador, then activate our Fusion Destiny, sending our heroes to the grave, summoning Enforcer to the field, and then do the most big brain thing this deck can do and set 4 and pass. Now in the end phase, you can activate your Enforcer, popping itself and Cursed Eldland, triggering the Eldland Engrave, and of course triggering the Phoenix Enforcer. Eldland will dump a Conquistador, and of course DPE will revive itself at the start of the next turn. Now still in the end phase, you can activate this Conquistador, banishing itself to set the missing piece to your engine, the Scarlet Sanguine. Your opponent will draw for turn, DPE will return, and of course, your Eldritch engine is online, getting you Golden Lord and of course, a pop or whatever you searched. Now, another cool scenario is you might have Heavenly Prison revealed in your hand, protecting your back row. And when your opponent passes their turn, you might just activate a Hawkero or something, not only to get the effect and summon it, but also allowing you to special summon the Lord from your hand and searching any spell or trap from your deck. Again, if there's something you're afraid of, you can get Droplet. If you need more cards, you can get Pot of Extravagance. Or if you just want to get the DPE, then yes, just search the Fusion Destiny. Now you'll draw for turn, and you already have over 6,000 damage on the board. So if you search something like Fusion Destiny, DPE gives you just enough to help swing for game if needed. Oh, and not only that, this is follow-up. You already set all the cards in your hand anyway, so going set 3, then Pot of Greed to set 2 more is pretty crazy. So that's it for the combos, I guess, in the deck. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. This deck is a lot of fun to play, and it plays around so many things in the meta. It is so hard not to fall in love with this deck. Once again, guys, I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I just broke the 800 subscriber mark. I don't know how that's even possible. If I had to have guessed, if everything went right, I didn't think I'd be at this point for at least another year. But we're a few months in and we are steadily growing, and it's all thanks to you. If you haven't subscribed already, please join the squad. Like the video and share it with somebody else who's also a trap card enthusiast. And if you can, give the deck a try. It's personally one of my favorite decks to counter the meta. Here's hoping to see you guys next time. Peace.